All right, we are live. Let's see. This is going to be start popping in here. Come on with us. Let's see here. Let's see. Boom. See what we got. Man. Hey, here we go. We're live. What's up, man? This thing is popping on all the platforms. I am trying to pull this bad boy up. Man, I have some exciting stuff to show you guys. We're going to let everybody come in here. Let me open up this chat so that if you guys drop something in here, I can see what's up. Man, what's up, guys? Boom, where are you coming from? Drop it in here. I have some cool stuff to show you guys here. We've developed some new resources. A lot of times these streams can be a little slow getting started. So I'm going to try to jump into this thing. Comment, tag, grab some other folks, let them know, jump in this here. We're going to do a little teaching. Let's get started, okay? So, man, we've been developing some resources, really a game changer in terms of drilling and training and the things that we're doing every day. It's been an extreme force multiplier, excuse me, coming fresh off some lunch here. It's been an absolute game changer in terms of development. And so I want to lay this in first, okay? So if you look at during COVID, the height of quarantine, all those things, I spent a bunch of time studying the wellness programs. Okay, so wellness programs. If you're not up to speed with it, basically, we usually think of that as like all the things like insurance, all the benefits package that come with like your job. Okay, whatever career you're at. But really, with wellness programs, the new stuff with wellness, the new direction of wellness programs in business and corporate America is in exposing your people. My phone is going berserk over here. Let me turn this thing off of vibrate here. I'm getting all the notifications on my Instagram, all my social media over here on my cell phone. The new direction with wellness programs is about exposing your employees to quality information. It's about driving up engagement. So there's this classic debate. Okay, businesses are interested in how they can get more work out of their employees all the time and drive up profits, right? And so what they found is that you actually have to invest some money into your employees to get more out of them. And so they have this big idea about. They talk about presenteeism versus absenteeism. If you've been here with us a long time, you probably heard us talk about this, okay? But absenteeism are the kind of the obvious. Like if you look at an iceberg, it's the stuff above the surface, above the water level on an iceberg. But really, the greater cost or the most of the iceberg is below the surface, right? They say like 2/3 or more of an iceberg is below the surface. So absenteeism is a cost to business. But if like you just don't show up to work, that's a huge problem, okay? But the greater cost to work is actually what they call presenteeism, and it's about poor engagement. Okay, so you're at work, but you're watching, our live stream right now while you're at work or whatever. Okay, and so that's the real cost, and so there's all these ideas about communication, how you get people to comply, and all these things. Okay, and so if you understand the backstory to that, then you can translate those things into the wrestling practice. Okay, so there's a pretty classic, whether you're wrestling is the worst of the worst, but even in jiu-jitsu practices, whatever, there's this filter, if you will. There's always a bottleneck to getting better, okay? And a lot of times that bottleneck is about having a good coach. It could be about access to training partners, although I think training partners are way overvalued. It's not nearly as important as a lot of times we want to associate with that, but oftentimes the coach is the barrier to those things. Okay, you need a coach, program, how close are you to practice? There's all these bottlenecks, and so we are interested in getting rid of those bottlenecks, those constraints, if you will, and those choke points for development. All right, so in practice specifically, you also get into the philosophy of learning. Okay, there's all these different cycles of learning. If you study the classic education model somewhere over here on the shelf, I've got some books about that. They're gonna take you through this. There's this hierarchy of learning where just because in wrestling practice we usually get there, and if like coach says something, then they think that everybody learned it. Like if you said it, of course they learned it. You just said the thing to them, right? And if you're a teacher, which most high school wrestling coaches are, you know that is not how it works at wrestling practice or in a classroom. If your boss says something you don't necessarily know or hear, do, or whatever, maybe that applies to your spouse, right? And so most of the time, the frustration the wrestling coach has is because they feel like they've said something a dozen times in practice, but and then they go to a tournament, a match, whatever, and this guy's not, he can't do it. And, you're like, dude, what do you mean you're not using, like we went over this. And the kid's like, I'm sorry, I don't know, and there's this frustration. A lot of times I see parents having that frustration with their sons or their kids, whatever. So here we have completely changed the game here. Okay, so we have some televisions. We've had a TV on the mat for years, but we just got some upgrades and have some huge TVs on the mats. Okay, and so we developed these resources. I'm going to share this. I'm going to flip this around and share with you guys what I'm looking at and just talk about this resource, because this is a game changer. And we are using these things right now to show. Let's see. Let's open this thing up and see if I can share my screen here. Share screen. Boom. Yep, let's go. Share. This is coming around. Okay, so you guys are with me here. I'm going to blow this up. See if I can expand this thing a little bit here. All right, boom. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm looking at here. I'm going to try to expand it again. Oh, that's going to be huge. All right, can you guys see this here? I'm hoping so. Am I still on my share screen style? This is a little difficult to look at. So I'm looking at this run the base flow. If you will, in the comments right now, tell me if you guys can see this. I'm trying to do this here solo, but I want to make sure that you guys can see what I'm talking about as I'm doing this. So this is what we call our run the bases flow. This is a thing that we taught in our coaches course, okay? And so this is a new understanding of attacking, okay? And so there's not single legs and double legs and duck unders and underhooks and snap. There's not all these different attacks, 2-on-1s, and there's all these attacks, and we got to make sense of it. And what we use is what we call a run the bases model, where in baseball, if you hit the ball, you just start running first base, second base, third base. Like if the defense screws it up, you just run around into the field and get an inside the park home run like it's T-ball, okay? But if you are running and you run around second base and it looks like you're going to get tagged out, then you don't keep going to third. You go back to second base and you hang out, right? In football, you might call this a check down, okay? And so we've established what that base path looks like, okay? So it starts out, we're in meat hooks, okay? And maybe you can see my mouse here. And so we start out first base is using step back, step footwork, okay? And we have a whole footwork progression. There's a whole bunch of variations of this. Our shuffle step, our cross step, all these things. But our steps, a variation of our step back, step footwork to get to ankle to ankle position. This is the first position. You have to be able to get to ankle to ankle position if you're going to wrestle. If you can't do this, then you're compensating. This is the number one thing is we don't know how to move and load our opponents here on this first base path to get to ankle position. But if you can, this is where baseball begins. This is where it happens, okay? It's literally first base, the first checkpoint in wrestling. You have to be able to get to ankle position. This is a pretty classic understanding of judo. Judo understands this. They are using these ideas already, okay, and have been for forever. Wrestlers are just now catching up, okay? And so there's a whole bunch of ideas that make this possible, but this is the first base, okay? Next is that we roll our second base check. Second base is our underhook, okay? So ankle to ankle, and I hand roll into my underhook position, okay? Third base is actually our leg attack. So on one side of the body, that's our single leg. On the other side, it's our double leg because of our dominant shoulder principle, which allows us to develop feel faster, get better in less time. And so and on the base path here, you're seeing that we're hand rolling in, we thumb hook the hamstring to get to our leg attack, okay? And if we get to our leg attack and we beat this guy badly enough, our head's actually going to clear under the armpit. We're going to get a chest connection, and we wind up in a duck under, and we're attacking through the person and actually taking their back into rear standing position. This is our run the bases flow. Everything flows through this. And so we are not taking drop steps down the mat. We're not doing any of those duck walks or any of those dumb things, okay? That is so painful. It is a horrible use of time. It is a horrible use of time. It's not even digging with a shovel. It's digging with the wrong end of the shovel. It is not good use of time. It's horrible, okay? And so this is a completely different thing. And what's going to do, it's going to systemize and help your athletes understand so many things at once. When we taught this, okay, this is at least 12 skills, 12. I could keep going and get into little micro details and, oh, you're learning this and this and this, but there's 12 major skills being learned at once when you do this, okay? So we start practice every day and we turn this thing on and we're rocking and rolling. And because the athletes can visualize it, they understand the concept now. I'm not just explaining some fairy tale idea. They can see it, right? Like it's like on the board. They have a reference point to check to, okay? And so this, one of the first things when you're learning is about learning the vocabulary. Well, now we're under learning vocabulary. We're learning range. We're learning angles. We're learning to level change. We're learning to move our opponent. We're learning all kinds of things, and it's a constant reference, okay? And so what happens is when they have a question, and our new athletes who are learning this is an everyday thing. You have to be able to do this. It's part of our everydays. We do this literally every single day. It's the first thing that we do when we're drilling. We drill this without finishing, 4 to the right. My partner goes, and I go 4 to the left. He goes 4 to the left. And then we do this and start finishing, and we score at every level. We score first base, second, third, all right? And then even with our back take. And then what happens, we move into the next layer of this, okay? So right now, these are just visual. These are digital assets. These are visual. They're on the mat all the time. This week, we are filming this. We already have this filmed, actually, but these are going to be live links. This is going to be a link. So I can click on ankle to ankle, and I can see the flow getting here in ankle to ankle position in our snap downs. This is the first thing people should be learning to do is the snap down. It's a completely different approach to wrestling. I cannot tell you how different this is in terms of progress, in terms of equipping your athletes for success and getting them off the struggle bus. This is the way, right? And so then the next thing we do, we quickly move in to our snap down series, okay? So this is our funnel. So first base is a snap down here. You see it at the bottom of the funnel. So instead of having 4 cups and we're trying to catch all the water that we want to, we've got these 4 traps or cups, if you will, okay? And we're going to funnel. We want to take this cup and just, we don't need more individual moves. I think about like trying to stop if you had a leaky roof, right? And you're trying to put a cup underneath every little leak or whatever else, you just need, you need a drain, like a gutter. You need to catch all the water and funnel it to one place, okay? So we have these 4 attacks that we're drilling all the time, really 5 if you say single leg and double leg, okay? But we're doing these things all the time, every day. I've tricked them into getting all these reps, and so now we do snap downs, and then this is all the ways that we can get into a snap down. And it's not all the ways, but it is a lot of them, okay? I think there's 14 or 15 on this chart here alone, okay? But this right here becomes terminology. So I say, so now next we are drilling for quality and we're drilling for speed, okay, which is a whole nother, I'll get into that in a minute. But right away we go into drilling our funnels, okay? And so when we're going to work on this for 4 to 5 minutes, okay? Let's say that we started out doing 5 minutes. We go 5 minutes for quality. And so that means they're drilling these things super slow-mo. They're going to work on these one by one, and it's a checklist. And they're not allowed to talk to us. So it's the athlete and their partner. We've already taught all this previously. And so their job is to work together. If I don't know one of these, I don't know post-collar knee bice over here, then I ask my partner. If my partner doesn't know, then we're going to jump to the next one or ask the group beside us. But we're all amongst ourselves learning, because this is how this exploratory idea, this learning, it develops an emotional connection to these things. And it's deeper learning than if I come over and give them the answer. If you give them the answer, then they don't learn it on their own. Okay, they're not gonna retain the information. You're spoon feeding your athletes. This is a conversation that I had at great length with Coach Roper, and you and I on our way to Waldorf University at our coaches summit in Iowa. On the way back, stopped and hung out with Coach Roper. He's a heretic himself, man. I love this guy. He is. Man, he's bold. He's every bit as confident as I am about his training methods and stuff. And it's really interesting to listen to him talk about it at the highest level Division I wrestling. And they're trying to develop world champions there. What this looks like in their terms, but going back, he was talking about not spoon feeding your athletes, right? And so don't give them every answer, make them find the answer. But in that, one of the things that I think is a real challenge at a high school level or club or even youth, right, middle school level, is that I need to give them a little more framework. I need to guide their learning just a little bit more. Once you get to, if I've got a room full of these guys that I've pulled into the Division I room, I can give them a lot of rain actually, because they've got enough reps and accountability programmed in that they're going to understand the difference in doing some fake wrestling and what's going to actually be working, right? So this is next level stuff, man. But we're running through this here, and so we do this and run through this checklist for 5 minutes, and now they're learning the vocabulary on their own. So now we all speak the same language. They're completely engaged. They're doing something different the whole time, and I'm really tricking them in to drilling these snap downs. If I said drill snap downs for 5 minutes, you guys know that I get 90 seconds of work, and then they're done. Now I'm getting 5 minutes of work out of them. They haven't even stopped it. They're like, oh, coach, I didn't finish there. We're still working on one of these things. So they're drilling these things super slow in that quality segment. And I was telling our guys yesterday, it's like jiu-jitsu training. Jiu-jitsu, one of the things they really get right is they slow the training down and develop a lot of nuance, a lot of sensitivity to little micro feels and awareness in positions. And it's really, really good. The thing that jiu-jitsu screws up is they never speed it back up, okay? And so they never see that live speed that's going to happen in competition. And that's why jiu-jitsu guys are obsessed with slow rolling and flowing and making it all cool. Like, well, at the end of the day, it's going to happen at a certain speed, you know what I mean? So we want to get really good at hitting off a tee and soft toss and maybe some slow pitch, okay? But maybe even a pitching machine. But eventually, we've got to see 90-mile-an-hour fastballs because that's what's going to happen in the game. And so we drill for 5 minutes for quality, give them a 6-second break, and then we do the same thing, and we drill for speed. And the goal, the standard, is the third level and beyond. So the snap down has to be the third thing that they do or further, right? If they can't do the third level, we got a young guy. I'm like, all right, well, you can make it the second thing. We'll scale it for you. So you're going to go, fake single leg into your snap down and score, finish every time. But we need to get you to the third level. So he needs to be going hard snap down into a single leg, back into a snap down and score, right? A double leg into a snap down into a single leg. Still didn't let me, and I go back into my snap down and score. That would make it the fourth level, okay? And so that's this dynamic wrestling that we're talking about. This also has a ton of value when we start talking about embodied perception, which is a whole crazy, huge idea. It's a big fancy word, but it represents so much. I mean, it's the secret sauce to a lot of what we're talking about here. And that these things become more visible, more aware. And so what happens is I get 5 minutes of drilling of these guys for quality, and they're getting better. They're adding quality. They're learning through this framework what we've decided, hey, this all repeats itself. And then they're getting 5 more minutes for speed, and they're drilling super hard, super fast at the third level or beyond. And they're getting this muscle. They're really getting it going. And now I've convinced 10-year-old kids, 15-year-old kids, whoever, all of them, 17-year-old kids, to drill for 10 minutes hard on the snap down alone, on just the snap down. So they're getting, how many reps are they getting in the snap down go behind situation? Like, good luck beating us, man. We're getting more reps, more quality reps than you are here. Everything we talk about in our coach course, the modalities of learning, we talk about our hourglass model, which is really what we're talking about here, where there's funnels and finishes, okay? And we have our attacks in the middle. We talk about our playbooks, okay? We talk about adding things there's like progressions and skill multiplication. And then we talk about doing things for quality and for speed. And those are our modalities for learning. And so it becomes a framework for your practices, okay? And we do the same thing so we go to first base and do this with snap downs. We do this with our underhooks. We do this with single legs, do this with double legs. And then we do this with our back stuff, and we have a mat return flow, okay? We have this out of a knee trap as well, okay? Then we have a whole other thing. We talk about the lines of takedown defense, okay? This would continue out. We have underhook funnels and finishes, all right? And I'm just scrolling through these quickly. But each one of these represents, this becomes a framework to trick your athletes into getting more reps in less time, okay? So I'll go back to a conversation I had with Coach Roper that was fun, okay? And basically he said anything. We were talking about the role of strength conditioning in training, okay? And his comment was, and I'm tremendous respect to him, okay? But his comment was, if you spend like if you get off the mat, like you cannot beat me. If you are in the gym or lifting weights or doing whatever, you're going to lose to me. Like your athlete is going to lose to me because the value of what I'm doing. My kid is learning technique and timing. Like technique beats power, timing beats speed. My kid is learning skills, and so the value is exponentially higher than whatever you're doing in the weight room. So there's no way that, if you took the same kid and measured them against each other, that you can beat me, right? And he's not wrong. I actually really jive with what he was saying. I totally agree. My thing with what we're doing right here is you cannot take your team and beat me with the same team. Like there's no way that you can out coach someone who is using these resources in practice at a high school, club, youth level. Like there's no way at a developmental level, there's no way that you can out coach this force multiplier in practice because of the engagement, the framework, the level of learning, the vocabulary, the engagement, the athletes working together, the culture that you're going to create, okay? The way that the athletes are programmed to think, where I just got to get this guy into my snap down, right? Like instead of going out and chasing the same crappy single leg 10 times in a row, he's going to have 14 or 15 ways to get into the single leg. So it feels like he's just wrestling the whole time, but really he's funneling you into his single leg, his very best thing, right? Like it becomes a way that athletes think, and it is a game changer, absolute game changer. We are seeing stupid results in practice with this right now. And honestly, it's taking less effort. So I don't finish, like what happens is because we have this framework, I don't have to feel guilty about when I go over and coach one kid and I'm not paying attention to the other 40 on the mat. Like, because usually if you're coaching little Johnny, Jimmy and Tommy and Timmy and everybody else over here are screwing off behind you. But that's not happening right now. That's not happening. In fact, when I'm working with these guys, they're on task, and they're on task on the thing that you want them to do, not some screw off thing that they just invented or whatever over there. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to like, dude, check out this cool move or whatever that they saw on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Like they're running through our framework. They're engaged. Okay. And so just like those wellness programs, circling all the way back to the beginning of the conversation, the engagement, the greatest cost of business is not absenteeism, kids not showing up to practice, okay, or they're missing for another school season, or they're sick, or they're beat up and injured. The greatest cost is presenteeism. It's the quality of what you get while they are there, okay. And so what they basically found is that you make an investment in these things moves people up the ladder faster, right? And there's all these crazy big takeaways that they've discovered in wellness companies because they have hundreds of millions of dollars, so multi-billion-dollar industry in corporate America to make businesses more functional, to get more work out of the same group of people, to get more productivity, more value. And on a wrestling program, the point is that it's really no different, right? Ultimately, we're chasing the same thing. We're chasing productivity, development, progress, okay? And we're trying to engage everyone at once so that somebody doesn't feel left out, that they're all developing on our plan and moving up the ladder, up the hierarchy towards being a starter on the varsity team or a state placer or a state champion or whatever the case may be. We can empower those guys. And then we don't just do it in the 2 hours a day. This is a digital asset. So with Ironclad Methods, what we're doing with teams is for the cost of a clinic. Like we would come out there and do a clinic with you guys or a little mini camp with you guys. These athletes get 24/7 access to this stuff. So mom and dad get training. There's so much stuff, okay? And so now they don't just have access to this 2 hours a day. They have it the other 22 hours a day, like 24 hours a day. They can be thinking like this. They can be studying the game like this. You can send them home with something to study, some videos to watch and think about, break down, whatever else. And then come into tomorrow at practice, and you're not teaching it. There's an expectation that they know what they're doing. Like it is literally revolutionary in terms of the functionality and elimination of the frustration and a lot of the choke points and constraints that a coach experiences. It's an absolute game changer, man. Like it is literally nuts. And we're doing it right now, man. We're so excited about it. We've had tremendous results, and we're trying to share this with others. So let's see. I'm getting some comments here. I'm bumping in here. I'm gonna look over at my different platforms here and see what's up. Setups get the snap down when they're wrestling live and hand finding they're running through the setups. Yeah, boom. Mr. Timothy Parton, I don't know where you're at. Just got your message. Yeah, basically, we would call these funnels. These are in jiu-jitsu and grappling, they call these entries. They're all your entries. They're your ways to get into a snap down. And so, like, you know, maybe you can stop my double inside bicep tie. We call meat hooks, okay? But can you stop my underhook? Can you stop my 2-on-1? Can you stop my reverse 2-on-1? Can you stop post collar knee? Right? If you get on a leg, like if I have the best like front headlock in the country, then I just need as many ways that I can get you into my front headlock, right? So, man, you take a shot on me. I arm drag, do a head vice. I can down block, and now I've got you in your quad pod, and now I'm back in my front headlock. We arm pass, and then bicep snacks the guy down. That's a gangster technique, okay? Over unders, we like reach and shuck back into our snap down out of an underhook and put the guy down. It happens so easily. That we can do this from he's on his shot, single leg, double leg, whatever else, sprawling, okay? Reverse 2-on-1s. Like what happens is it repeats the same groove. And so instead of having 1,000 different moves, you have, let's say, 5 moves, okay, from your feet. Just follow my argument, okay? And we're looking for as many ways to repeat these things as possible. And so one of the real secret sauces behind Ironclad and Ironclad methods is that we use pure skills, pure techniques, okay? And because we do that, because we've studied folk style, freestyle, Greco, no-gi jiu-jitsu, okay? Judo, kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA, right? Because we've done all these things, each one of them has its own constraint. There's its own set of rules and things that, like, oh, you can't be on your back. You can be on your back. You can grab clothing. You can't grab clothing. The way you score. Do you find this overlap of movement patterns that eventually align, and you arrive at these pure skills, these pure techniques, these pure movement patterns that transcend all of them? So it doesn't matter which one you're doing. Like, this is it. And what happens is you find one over here on like number 10 that you go, oh, that's a little different, and it modifies the way that you do all of them back here, right? So if I was expressing that in like terms of numbers, numerical value, like we learn numbers 1 through 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, but there's infinite numbers between 4 and 5, right? So like we're always chasing the purest version of 4.0000. If you do it kind of like us and you do 4.1, then it kind of works in all the things, but you might run into some problems, right? It might be a little bit off center, but the more we dial those things in, that's what we've been doing for years, is dialing these things in until they align perfectly. And so we're arriving at these techniques, these skills, these movement patterns that are always repeating themselves. And that repetition is crazy important, because when you learn a movement pattern, it's a neural pathway, right? When you learn a new movement pattern, if you're learning to juggle, if you're learning anything, okay, it's akin to sanding a groove in a wooden board, right? Like, you need to travel the exact same path, and as you travel that repeatedly, you go from sending that signal at like 2 to 3 miles an hour to over 300 miles per hour as it becomes like what we call muscle memory, right? It's like in your DNA. And so, but it's because you travel the same path. If you're not intentional, you might map a dozen different ways to do the same thing, and you're gonna, you're always going to be sharing and dividing your speed, if you will. John Smith famously kind of talked about technique speed, and if I could translate what he was saying, it's kind of this. That's what it is: the speed at which you could do something or perform an act or automize. Hold on, I'm trying to say that. Automate a. I'm trying to say automaticity, but if you could automate a function because you've done it enough times and you can do it subconsciously without thinking about it. If you do it all these different ways, then you don't learn it the same. So having one way is like really the secret. It's the ultimate. And so because of that, we're able to take athletes and help them learn a whole bunch of things all at once. And we can truly develop athletes faster. We can make athletes better in less time with less wear and tear on their body. And it's kind of pretty scientific on how we do it, right? We can prove that we're doing that. And so I'm going to bounce back out. It's really exciting, man. I mean, this is the future of wrestling training, and we're here on the forefront. And I hope that you guys are enjoying some of this content that we're putting out. This isn't the stuff that really gets the most views or goes viral or whatever else, but it is the most meaningful. And I know that as we are reaching leaders, okay, if you're we're talking to guys who run jiu-jitsu gyms all over the world, literally, pro fighters who are reaching out to us, okay, elite wrestlers, college programs, senior level athletes. We've got people all levels, literally. A bunch of professional grapplers, and they're beginning to understand this stuff. And so it is, man, it's the way, dude. It's so exciting, honestly. And we just want to share that with you guys. If you are a coach or leader of a team and are interested in what we're doing, obviously you can catch a subscription to all this stuff. We have these resources are going online this week, and we are hoping to have those digitized by the end of next week. We're filming literally these next couple of days to digitize each one of these so that you can click on this video in practice and change. We're trying to really change the way that practice looks so that boom, running the bases. Yeah, man, the run the bases drill is legit. Thank you, Louise, for jumping in here. We've been having some success with this with college programs. It's freaking elite, man. It is a different it's a different way to do this thing. And so yeah, I just can't emphasize enough. Man, we grew up in an era where it was really hard to get good at wrestling, and there was a lot of frustration around what to do and who to listen to, and different people had conflicting ideas, and who to listen to, and do I trust this guy or that guy? Well, no, he was really good. Who has better athletes? Like we've cracked the code on those things, man, and are trying to make that available to everybody. So for $1 a day, less than 87 cents a day, you can have access to this stuff, right? There's so much content in there. I'm constantly in the DMs. People are hitting me up, and I'm saying, oh man, I would recommend this for that. So you can go pick up an individual course and own it, or you can, just like Netflix, you can have access to all those things. Right now, this is really, it's cutting edge stuff. And honestly, it's kind of a secret that others don't have. I really believe that we're going to change the industry of wrestling training, both in affiliations like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu schools. And we're already looking at that with a bunch of different schools. And then also like just the way that wrestling training looks. If you look at CrossFit, there are, there's AMRAPs and there's Metcons and there's different like frameworks for workouts. And what we're starting to see is that we're developing that framework like that for wrestling training, where you can be very deliberate, very intentional about what you're doing, and start to like write programming around development in terms of what your athletes need next. You can write programming that very specifically targets what they need and gives you the most value per time or per hour. Such a big deal. Knowing what's happening in the restaurant. Yeah, man, knowing what's happening in the room helps refs. I have a whole other thing with this knee trap stuff I'm going to share with you guys later. I've got to talk to you guys about, and it's going to be a huge thing to get referees' opinion on, because it's going to be, there's some sketchy positions that it's important to know who's creating position. It's a really forward-thinking thing. That's coming soon. Man, listen, that's all I got, dude. If you guys don't have any more questions, holler at me. Or if y'all have any more questions, holler at me. I'm going to jump out of here. I really enjoyed sharing with you guys today. Really excited about the things that are going on and being able to bring it to others. As always, man, I ask you to check us out, support our mission if you just like what we're doing. We create all kinds of free content for you. But, that subscription there, ironcladmethods.com, definitely supports the cause, helps pay for the serious resources that we're putting towards this end. If you believe in what we believe in, and you feel like you can or would like to support us, please do. And if not, then share with others. Grab some others and get them involved with what we're doing. Point them in the right direction. Together, we're definitely going to empower people. We're going to change the sport that we love, and it's been so good to us. So, love you guys, man. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much, wherever you are, for your support. And we will see you guys on the mat somewhere soon. Okay? Yeah, man. Y'all take care later.